Hello and welcome to the Primis Proposition Vodcast, Hear the Lion Roar. I'm Matt Brown, Head of Proposition, and I'm joined by Chris Mason for his first ever vodcast. Hello, Chris Mason, Proposition Manager.
Hello, Matt Brown. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. All the
Good,
better for having you by my side today, Chris.
good.
Good. So we've got a great guest on today, returning to the vodcast. He's been here before. He's a bit of a regular. So we've got Paul Roberts from Guardian. Hiya, Paul.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, very well, mate. Thank you. We're not going to talk about the Euros or Scotland or anything like that, mate. Are we right at this
No, we'll just brush over that and get straight into things, I think.
point? Good stuff. So I think sort of what I really want to focus on, and I know you're keen to do today, is to talk about your first claims report. So a bit of a milestone moment for Guardian. So do you want to talk us through the headlines of that, Paul?
Yeah, absolutely. As you rightly say, Matt, it is a milestone moment for Guardian and a very exciting moment for us as well to be launching our very first claims report. So let me just kind of outline the scope of what this report begins to do to start with. So the figures that we're including are for the products that we've completed or are nearing completion of 5 years of trading. So that's our original life protection product, our critical illness protection product, and our combined life and critical illness protection product as well, alongside our children's critical illness protection. And I think the key thing that we want to pull from this is really the headline figure that in 2023, we paid out over £15 million to customers. And that was to over 150 families as well. So it's almost double what we paid out the year before. So it shows how we as a business are growing. And it's our in-force book of policies mature. We're starting to see more claims, which is what we would expect to see and want to see, which is fantastic. And the breakdown between the different product lines is pretty even, actually. So when you look at what we've paid out on the life and terminal illness side of things, it equates to roughly £7.5 million. And it's a similar figure on the critical illness figure as well, which includes the children's kit claims. So it's a mix across the board, really, for all the products that we're offering. And in terms of payout rates, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of attention to this, the thing that jumps out most from our perspective is that we've paid out 100% of our life and terminal illness claims in 2023. What an amazing statistic that is, and something that we're really, really proud of. And on top of that, we've paid out 92% of our critical illness claims. That's across both the adult and the children's kit. Again, something that we're really proud of. And I also wanted to include the fact that we've paid 117 waiver claims as well. And we wanted to include that because it is a bit of a USP for us in that we provide waiver on every single policy we sell to customers. So some really good headline figures to take away from that first report that we're bringing out to the market.
Brilliant, Paul.
Brilliant.
Wow. I mean, I've just written down 100% because everyone likes a stat that's on 100%. So I think that's probably a headline grabbing figure that I'd want to take to start off with. So what do you think's contributed to that remarkable 100% for life and TI claims?
Yeah, I mean, it is the headline grabbing figure. There's no doubt about it. And I'm sure many listening today will know about our market leading terminal illness benefit on our life protection policy. And for those that don't, our terminal illness benefit pays out when your client is given 12 months or less to live. So similar to most providers across the market. But it also goes that stage further. So if your client is diagnosed with MND, Parkinson's plus syndromes, CJD, or incurable stage 4 cancer, we actually pay out on diagnosis. So there's no requirement for the client to have been given 12 months or less to live for those 4 conditions. And looking closely at the claims that we paid out for terminal illness in 2023, we can see that we were able to pay 5 claims under under the standard industry definition that wouldn't have been paid, where the life expectancy was perhaps over that required 12 months. And because we pay out on diagnosis for those 4 conditions, it's allowed us to pay out on claims at a potentially earlier stage, which of course is fantastic. And of course, that's meant that we were able to pay out 100% of those claims last year. And had we not been able to pay out on those, of course, the payout percentages would have been less. So it certainly demonstrates the additional value of that enhanced definition that we have. And of course, it comes at a slightly higher price, but I think most listening would agree, and certainly those that have had a successful claim under our enhanced definition would certainly agree that paying for good quality protection is exactly what is worth doing for getting a payout when it absolutely is needed and required.
That's brilliant, Paul. Absolutely fantastic. On the subject of percentages, you've mentioned that Guardian have a 92% payout rate for critical illness.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you were expecting?
Yeah, it is, Chris. I think, it's on par with what others have been releasing lately with their stats. And across the industry generally, that's what we would see from a critical illness perspective on the percentage of payout of claims. But I think from a Guardian point of view, it's worth mentioning that it's a particularly strong result for us, potentially because when we look at what we've got sitting within our business book, all our claims are fairly early. And, you know, in the first couple of years of claims, there is a greater likelihood of seeing claims decline for misrepresentation. So again, when you look at some of the competitors that we're up against, they're going to have a much more mature business book than what we will have at Guardian. So I think that figure actually is even stronger than it probably looks like on paper. And when we consider the 8% that we've declined, it's only really a small number of claims when you look at it from that perspective. In fact, it's only 7. And actually 6 of those were a result of misrepresentation. The other one was because the customer didn't actually meet the definition. They had claimed against the heart attack definition, but they hadn't had a heart attack. And we feel it's worth sharing this today. And we've always wanted to be transparent. And we think as a business, it's really important to be transparent, because what that then does is it helps us gain trust. And that's one of the things that we said when we came to market back in 2018 as a business that we wanted to create. We wanted to have that trust from the consumer. And we believe that being transparent and talking about claims that we haven't paid as well as those that we have provides that transparency, and of course provides that greater trust as well.
That's a really good point about the maturity of your book as well, Paul. When looking at your claim stats that you've released, it talks about the value of your cover upgrade promise. Okay, can you explain to the listeners? I know what it is, but can you explain to the listeners firstly what this is, and then the impacts this has had on maybe one of your clients?
Absolutely. And I mean, this is a promise that we made to market when we launched. And that promise was that should we ever enhance or upgrade our CI definitions, existing customers would benefit from those changes as well. And in the main, they would benefit from those changes without any additional cost. Now, in some cases, if we make upgrades, there might well be a small cost involved. But should that ever happen, the client would always get the choice as to whether they take that upgrade on or not. But as you rightly mentioned, Chris, there is a case study that's worth talking through. So we need to go back to 2019. And if we go back to July 2019, we've got a client, John, who took out a critical illness cover policy with Guardian. And that included the following Parkinson's disease definition. So the definition was a definite diagnosis by a UK consultant neurologist of idiopathic Parkinson's disease. Now, with this, there must be permanent clinical impairment of motor function with associated tremor and rigidity of movement. Now, a few months later in October that year, we upgraded our Parkinson's disease definition for both new and existing customers. And it's worth highlighting that these changes were made free of charge. So there was no cost to the client. And that definition was then changed to a definite diagnosis by a UK consultant neurologist. And there must be permanent clinical impairment of motor function. Now, this impairment should include either an associated tremor or muscle rigidity. So in essence, what we've done here is reduce the requirement that needs to be met from both the tremor and the muscle rigidity to just either or. And in 2023, John unfortunately was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And after an associated tremor, he wasn't experiencing the muscle rigidity. So when you look at the original definition, John's claim wouldn't have met that definition. And of course, what we then do under the cover upgrade promise is we then assess the claim against the most recent definitions that we've enhanced. And because we'd enhanced that Parkinson's definition to it just needing to be either or and not both, we were able to get that claim paid out to John. So even though it wasn't part of his original definition. And we feel it's important that existing customers don't get left behind on legacy definitions. It's a really good example of where we've been able to achieve that. And I think we would all agree that it provides a better customer outcome, particularly to John in this example.
Thanks, Paul. Really strong example. Whilst no one wants to hear about someone being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, the fact that your cover has been able to use that promise and pay out must have made a massive impact to him. So great example there. I think you touched on premium waiver before, and I think often overlooked in claim stats is the impact that premium waiver can have. So you highlight it in your stats. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, I mean, no, it can be a challenging conversation at times from an advisor perspective. Typically, when you have got occupations where waiver is not covered, and you've got to go back and have that conversation with the client, even though you might have a client that's got a clean bill of health, and you've got to go back and make them aware that an aspect of the policy is being declined due to the occupation that they've got. So again, from a Guardian point of view, we've taken a slightly different stance and a different approach. So premium waiver comes as standard with all Guardian policies, regardless of age, occupation, or activities, because we fully believe it's invaluable. So if we offer someone cover, they automatically get waiver. So it's not underwritten, So we'll never apply any exclusions or load-ins. And it means if your client becomes too ill to work and their income reduces, we'll pay their premiums until they return to work. And depending on what type of cover they've got and choose, we may also pay their premiums for up to 6 months if they're made redundant, or take maternity or paternity leave, as long as their policy's been enforced for a year. And in 2023, as I touched on at the start, 117 customers benefited from our premium waiver. And actually, when you start to break that down, the average monthly premium waived was for £53.80. Now, 63% of these claims were for maternity or paternity cover, followed by just under 30% for illness or injury, and around about 7% for those that were made involuntary redundant. So again, we always look and talk about claims when there's been a negative impact, and a lot of it will be in the industry that we work at, but there's also some positive stories that come from this as well. When you think about those that are going on maternity or paternity, it's a happy time in those individuals' lives. But actually, there still can be that change and challenge around the level of income that individuals will be receiving. So actually, if we can provide that little bit of comfort where we can waive their premiums when they're on maternity or paternity leave, when it's a good news story, again, it can only be viewed in the industry as a positive.
Brilliant, Paul. You're doing some fantastic work around paying out claims, so that's great to hear. I guess, what about the speed of payment at claim stage? How's that going for you guys?
Yeah, look, speed of claims is really important, Matt. We know that. It's the timely responses that are really important to customers. I mean, they're going through a significant change in their lifetime. What they don't want to be doing is going through long-winded processes and not having that process fully explained to them. So our approach is to respond to all new claims by the end of the next working day. And we've got a 48-hour deadline to take all the claims details. And of course, we are aware that we do hear of those occasional horror stories across the industry of terrible service. And of course, that is unacceptable. But I think there is a distinction to be made between examples of really bad service and the amount of time that's needed to make the right decision. And indeed, the time it takes to get all the evidence that we need to pay claims as well. Because sometimes it is out of our control, and sometimes getting medical evidence from a GP or a hospital, or if there's an inquest, for example, it can take a lot longer for us to receive that information that we need. But I think what's important at this point is to make sure that the process and the actions being taken are fully understood by the customer. And of course, they're within that customer's comfort as well. So managing their expectations first of all. And then, of course, if they're able to, we may also lean on some of those customers to help move things along as well. So sometimes a word from the customer to their GP can just focus that GP's mind a little bit. And we know that GPs are very busy, but sometimes that can be quite helpful in this type of process as well. And then in terms of things that impact speed, it's worth mentioning probate. And it seems right to point out at this time that we've got a beneficiary nomination tool that we call Payout Planner. And it means that when clients opt to include Payout Planner at the application stage, the policyholder can name their beneficiaries. Now, they can change the beneficiaries later if they need to. But what it does mean is that if we can pay out the beneficiaries directly without going through probate. So it makes things a lot simpler for everybody at the point of claim. And we know on average that it means that we can speed up payment around about an average of 7 months as well, because the Payout Planner and beneficiary nomination tool has been selected. And of course, that's huge. And as we mentioned earlier, our enhanced terminal illness definition on our life protection product means that we don't have to worry about life expectancy for those 4 named conditions. So again, another great example where we can get the money in the hands of those that need it at the earliest possible opportunity.
That's brilliant, Paul. And I think the Payout Planner really is, it is unique to the Guardian proposition. One of the other aspects really to consider at point of claim is the additional services that Guardian offer under Halo. Can you just remind the listeners what this additional support looks like and how it can support clients?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. I think it's probably an area that's undervalued in many ways, because at the point of claim, I think claimants very much focus and think about what the support comes from a financial perspective, but actually, what is the support that comes from providers around the emotional and practical support at the time they need it most as well. And from a Guardian perspective, Halo is our free claim support service, which provides claimants and their immediate family members access to additional medical treatments, counselling, legal services, and financial support. And this service is made available to each claimant, and it will depend very much on their situation. So there's not a definitive list as to what support is available. What we will do is look to match that up with the client's needs. So some of the examples that we'll look at will be things like second medical opinions from a UK consultant, specialist therapy for things like neurological conditions, support with home, family and childcare issues, and then things like finding a solicitor to handle things like probate if they haven't got something like a Payout Planner in place to support on that basis. And then a whole host of other things like bereavement counselling to help families cope with serious illness, and nursing support following diagnosis and a treatment. And in 2023, actually, the majority of referrals were for that nurse support, but we also saw almost 1 in 5 referred for legal advice as well. So Halo provides a wide range of support, which is important to clients at the point of claim. So whilst there is a need to get the money in the client's hands at the right time, at the point of claim, it's making sure they have also got that practical and emotional support beside them when they need it most as well.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I guess finally, a really fantastic summary today. Where can the listeners find out more information about the stats we've talked about today and the stories that sit behind them, Paul?
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot from us. First of all registered advisors will have been sent an email with the link to the report. For those that haven't registered with us yet, you can do so quite easily on our website. It's really straightforward. And again, I would encourage anyone to do so, because you'll get updates like the claims report as and when we've got anything to inform you about. The information will also be available on our website, and watch out for us promoting it on our social media. If you're not following us on LinkedIn, again, I would urge you to do so, just to keep abreast of things like this when we do make some changes and any updates. So again, you can help position it with your clients going forward. And last but not least, reach out to your BDM. Our BDMs are always on hand to support, that want to help you with these types of things. And now that we can start to talk about these claim stats and the real life stories that sit behind it, again, it can really help cement those conversations that you're having with your clients about the importance of recommending protection.
Brill, thanks, Paul. And I'll just chuck in another contact detail for that. So Primus have reopened their phone lines. So there's one telephone number for the #1 network. See what I did there? It's 0330 303 0237. So if anybody needs Chris or myself or the experts team to put you in contact with the guys at Guardian, we can certainly help with that as well. So listen, Paul, absolutely great stats there. You must be really proud of those claim stats. You know, it's a great first set of results to put out there to the market. So well done to you and to everyone at Guardian. And thanks for coming on the podcast, mate.
Right. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Chris. Good to see you both.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. Bye.